Good evening. This is the regular joint meeting of the Oakley City Council acting as the successor agency to the Oakley Redevelopment Agency, Oakley Public Finance Authority. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. I will now conduct the roll. Councilmember Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Fuller.
Dr. OG here.
Councilmember Meadows.
Here.
Vice Mayor Shaw. Here. And I am Mayor Anissa Williams, present. We are now going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Iron House Elementary students who are going to come up and introduce themselves. Yes, you got it.
My name is Hadley. Abby. Emma. Jaden. Davis. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I got stuff for you guys too. Come on over. And then if you just want to go around and shake everybody's hand on the council. Okay, great job. You did great. Good job. Good job. Thank you. You're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. I'll shake your hand. Good job. There you go. Thank you. Good job. Sorry. Good job. Good job. Good job. There you go. Oh, here, next. There you go. Good job. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
So cute. Oh my God, look at her. All right, future mayor. That's a future mayor right there. All of you guys, good job. Iron House Elementary, you guys are doing a good job with them. All right. Perfect. Good job. You picked good people. Good job, you guys. Amazing. All right. Now we will hear item 1.3, a Delta update by Roger Mamone.
Again for the quarterly report. There was a recent article in the Los Angeles Times where the California State Water Project predicts there's going to be 23% less water in California within the next 20 years. And part of this article covered that the governor is still pushing for his Delta Tunnel, but if there's that much less water in 20 years when the tunnel, if it's ever built, is completed, there won't be any water to put in it. Dr. Jeffrey Michaels, who is the Pacific McGeorge Law School professor of economics, wrote a report recently which was highly critical of the Delta tunnels and that the state's cost-benefit analysis is not feasible. It's expensive and environmentally and socially detrimental. In September, excuse me, the Environmental Justice Law and Advocacy Clinic at Yale Law School, on behalf of the Delta Tribal and Environmental Coalition, submitted a formal letter to the State Water Resources Control Board concerning DWR's latest attempt to modify expired water permits. The permit was issued back in 1972 and expired after 20 years. They're trying to reestablish that permit and extended to the year 2055. There was an article October 8th with the Cal Matters highlighting the severe ecological crisis facing the San Francisco Bay Delta rivers due to urban runoff, algal blooms, and historical contamination from gold mining and industrial waste. Activist groups are calling for the recognition of subsistence fishing by underprivileged communities. On October 30th, Chris Schutz, who is the executive director of the California Sport Fishing Protection Alliance, gave testimony to the State Water Resources Control Board disputing the findings for the Sites Reservoir. And he requested that the State Water Resources Control Board deny the permit for Sites Reservoir. This past month, we have a new invasive species in the Delta, the golden mussel, and it has the same qualities as the zebra mussels and the quagga mussels, where they can clog water pipes and contaminate the ecosystem, and they would be taking additional food from native species here in the Delta. And they were discovered for the first time in the United States at the Port of Stockton, and they have been suspected to also been identified in O'Neill Forebay, which is a portion of the San Luis Reservoir down in Merced counties. So if that's the case, that means that the mussels have spread down into San Luis Reservoir. I thought this was interesting. The Contra Costa Water District ends the participation in the Los Vaqueros Reservoir expansion, and it appears that the entities that were involved in negotiating the expansion couldn't get along as to how it was going to be operated. So they decided just to pull out, and we'll just keep the thing for ourselves. There is a slumping levee at Victoria Island on the old river, and last I could see is that they still had not repaired it, but they're working on it on an emergency basis. In addition to San Luis Reservoir having possibly the quagga mussels, because O'Neill Forebay is a portion of that reservoir, as of today, apparently they've gotten approval to expand San Luis Reservoir by, by more than 130,000 acre feet of water, which means that they're going to be taking that much more water out of our delta. And on November 10th, salmon were spotted in our Marsh Creek again. And everybody's thinking that with some additional rain, there'll be more fish coming up the river or up our creek. And the California Department of Fish and Wildlife has a classroom aquarium education project where they will take salmon eggs. They'll set up an aquarium in a classroom, bring salmon eggs or steelhead eggs into the classroom. The kids can hatch them out and then release them. And our friend Buddy Shattuck is looking into that, and perhaps we can get something started in their schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do any members of the council have any questions? I do have to preface by saying we do not have buttons, so when you want to speak, you'll have to raise your hand. Sorry, everybody. All right, good. You did mention, I know they brought the protest letter regarding the expired permits. Has there been any more legal action on it, or is it still sort of held up waiting?
Just like the wheels of justice, they turn slowly. But the complaints have been filed. There was a formal letter sent.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we are moving on to item 1.4. This is the Iron House Sanitary District update by John Mark Petit, the new general manager.
Thank you. Good evening. Mayor Williams, Vice Mayor Shaw, Member of City Council. My name is Jean-Marc Petit. I'm the new general manager for the Iron House Sanitation District. I'm here to present some updates on the district and introduce myself. For those who are not familiar with the Iron House Sanitation District, we are serving the area in the yellow boundaries, which is the city of Oakley and some incorporated Bethel Island. We have served 47,000 residents and 18,000 businesses and connections. We provide 3 essential services. We collect the sewer through pipes and manholes. We have pump stations. It's fairly flat, so we have about 30 pump stations. We have a main treatment facilities called the Water Recycling Facility or Treatment Plant, and we manage Jersey Island. And we have about 95 miles of gravity sewers and 25 miles of pressure pipes. And we have about 30 employees. So we have a governing board. You probably know most of those. There's 3 of them in the room tonight supporting me, thank you. We have a 5-member board of directors. They're elected at large. And they bring a wide variety of perspective, which helps me a lot, with my job. They set policies and support and represent the customers for Iron House. From left to right, current President Lauritsen, Vice President Susan Moreau, Director Morgan, sorry. Thank you. We have Don Morrow, Peter Zirkle, and Angela Laundry. This is a little bit about me because I'm new in the city and new in the district. I'm a consulting engineer by training. I went to school in Colorado. I spent about 20 years in the design and constructions of treatment plants, water, wastewater, and public works. I've worked in 16 states. And recently I was the Director of Engineering and Technical Services for Central San in Martinez for about 8.5 years. And I was lucky and grateful that the board selected me as their new general manager. So I thought I'd just share with you a little bit of what's happening with the district. So recently, you probably got in the mail, everybody got the new insider brochure. We're pretty excited about that. We hadn't printed one for several years. And one thing we wanted to highlight is the fact that we were successful in receiving a $3 million grant from the US EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, in collaboration with the Diablo Water District for promoting use of recycled water. We produce recycled water, but we'd like to have more use of the water. And one of the potential uses is augmentation of the water supply from the water district, but that would be on their side. And we recently, in order to collect the money, we need to complete an archaeological and cultural survey, which is ongoing, so we expect to complete that shortly. One of the things that we have where customers come to our facilities is the residential recycle fill station. This is a picture on the left. On the last day, we closed the facility on Friday, the 8th. We had extended the hours this year from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday to Friday. And we had a slew of customers who came diligently with their trucks and filled their trucks and containers. We had improved the driveway this year and added 6 fill stations. And those who wanted to promote the fact that they were putting recycled water on their lawn could put a beautiful sign on their lawn. The use of the water has obviously this whole program of residential fill stations started with not only Iron House, but a lot of the other sister agencies during the drought of 2015-16. And so we had a lot of customers come at that point. It's tapered down since, but it's leveled down. This year would be about 700,000 gallons for the year. And we will reopen in next spring. Public outreach plan and rebrand. We rebranded. You probably noticed that we went away from the tree symbol that we had for many years, and we have a new logo that we have been using on our trucks around the city for trucks and also on our website. We have more social media engagement, and we have been participating in all the events that the city put together, the Heart of Oakley in September and recently the Oak Fest, and we were there with our team. there tonight. And one of the new employees we have is Antoinette Campbell. She's here tonight. We've hired her. She's our public outreach and community specialist, so she'll be engaging locally with the city and other folks. Some capital improvement projects that are ongoing. We completed the Bethel Island infiltration reduction project to minimize the amount of rainwater, groundwater coming to our facility, both on Bethel Island and on the main islands. We bought some additional generators. You know, in the past, you used to worry about winter storms, you needed backup power. Now you have to worry about summertime when PG&E could shut you down, so we need those. Make sure that we have 30 pump stations, so we have to go around, make sure that they all in operations. And then we have a new project, a redundant 14-inch force main, and that brings me to the fact that I want to thank the city staff for helping us during the recent force main event we had on East Cypress. And it was invaluable that we worked together as a team to repair that quickly. We're doing a lot of planning development projects. We know the city is growing. They want to keep having developments. So as a public agency serving on the sewer and wastewater treatment side, we want to make sure we are ready to have those growth. So we're doing a wastewater treatment master plan. We're doing a collection system master plan with the pump stations included. We're doing a technology master plan. We're also looking at adding additional solar or potential battery systems at our facility. The picture on the right that I'm showing has our existing solar power facilities, but we're looking at potentially expanding it to be more grid independent from the grid. We are conducting a cost service study to determine our costs and rates. And we're doing an appraisal of the Jersey Island recently. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the members of the council have any questions?
Thank you very
All
much.
right, that was a pretty easy one. Thank you so much. All right, we are moving on to item 2, public comments. At this time, public comments will be heard for items not on the agenda. I do have public speaker cards. We do have public comments that were submitted. The time limit to speak is 3 minutes. The time limit is monitored by the timer located in front of me. When 1 minute remains on the timer, it will beep once as a reminder to complete comments before your time expires. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, or other outbursts so that everyone may have an opportunity to be heard. Note that due to provisions of state law, the council may not engage in dialogue regarding comments. Staff can be directed to respond to persons making public comments. We received several electronically, which will be included, but one speaker asked to have his comments read. It says, "You can read my comments out loud. I am so sick of the negativity that Councilmember Fuller brings to the council. He took what was a beautiful tribute to veterans and tried to make it about himself. I was in attendance, and when I read his disgusting Nextdoor post, I was disappointed he would try to break down such a positive event. Doesn't surprise me, though, as he has several members of the public balked, which is an insult to the freedoms we fought to protect." I have a public speaker card from Ann Engelhart. Thank you.
Ready?
Yes.
My name is Ann Engelhart, and I live at 3780 Brown Road next to Happy Trails Riding Academy. I've lived next to the horse ranch for over 30 years. It was just horse boarding where customer parking was provided on site with just a few vehicles parked on Brown Road. The current owners are having day camp for kids, children's parties, and other large groups without providing customer parking. My line of sight trying to get out of my driveway is obscured by the line of parked cars. It says on the internet, a car traveling 40 miles per hour requires 80 feet to come to a complete stop. In the photo I showed you, an arrow, you can just barely see an oncoming truck, and it has approximately 60 feet to stop. So I can't see who's coming down the road. If it had been a small car or a bike, I would not have seen it at all, or it see me. When they have a large party, the parked cars block both directions. My husband has trouble when he's pulling a trailer, having enough turn radius to get in our driveway. Often, Happy Trail customers will crowd it, parking partially in our driveway. A bike lane runs from Freedom High School to Laurel Road, except for the section where the horse trail signs are. Lacking the bike lane signs, legally the cars can park on Brown Road in this section. This means the bikes have to drive into the 40-mile-an-hour road to avoid the parked cars. I took a picture of a kid this morning going around one parked car. He got lucky. Sometimes there's like 7 and they have to go around them. We also have people, including children, opening their car doors into the 40-mile-per-hour traffic. Sometimes the wider trucks are parked in the driving lane. We've lost 2 sections of the city fence to cars making U-turns to park on the Happy Trail side. It says on the city website, no dude ranch, riding academy, or stable shall be permitted to become a public nuisance to adjacent residential uses. I don't think they're a public nuisance, but it is definitely creating a safety hazard. I think if it's being run as an event center, they should provide some parking for their customers. I believe Happy Trails is imposing on the rest of Oakley who is trying to use this road as well. Thank you for listening, and I hope I can get the city's help with a solution to this problem before there's an accident.
Thank you. All right, it looks like I do not have any more public speakers for this item. We are now moving on to item 3, council member comments. Council members have 3 minutes to speak, which will again be regulated by the timer. Does anybody have any comments? We don't have the button. I started by saying that the buttons weren't working and you would have to raise your hand tonight. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, the election is over. Thank you very much. We're sitting on pins and needles. We never know with 116 votes nowadays. I think they were saying, but tomorrow that there's 84,000 still left to be counted in Contra Costa County, but tomorrow at 4 o'clock we'll have a further insight. So I'm hoping it holds. We have 2 of the other candidates. Christina Pena Langley is right off to the audience's right, and then right to her right is Oleski Chiyuko. Both of them offered a good contest and went through, and there were a couple of messages there, and I'm just glad to be sitting here today, and we'll know what we're doing on December 12th, 11th, right? Is the final announcement.
Do we have any other council member comments? I'd like to take the time to thank the staff for their hard work yesterday. They had to do a quick pivot, and I appreciate everybody working to make sure we were still able to have our Veterans Day celebration. So I really appreciate the immense planning that I know went into that last minute shift. So I really appreciate it. I can't remember when we've had rain at Veterans Day for a while, so I know that that was probably difficult. So I appreciate all the hard work. It was a beautiful ceremony, and look forward to having it back out there where there's room for everybody to enjoy. All right, we are moving on to item 4, the consent calendar. So again, please raise your hands if you would like to pull anything. Councilmember Fuller.
4.1, 4.7, 4.8, 4.10, 4.13, 4.14, and 4.18.
Okay,
I will remove.
I would
move the
also
rest.
like to pull item 4.9. Anybody else have anything they would like to pull?
I'll move the remainder minus all of that.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Second.
All right, we have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, passes 5-0. Councilmember Fuller, 4.1, please.
As I've said before, I do not find the minutes complete, and I do not think that they're available for future use, especially as the years go by, and I will vote no on the item.
Okay, I'll move the minutes as written. Item 4.1, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? All right, passes 4-1. Okay, 4.7.
Yes, in our ARPA funds, it's good to know that we have somewhere around $10 million from what I can estimate right off the hand. But I did have a question. We have 4 million that's undesignated that's being moved from the general fund to Fund 220, which is a special community projects fund. And I'm curious, is that this going to go for the libraries, or is that just going into the pot?
Yes, part of it would be designated for the library. So if you remember, over the course of the last few years since the ARPA monies were transferred to the city, we have allocated on several occasions monies to various projects. As we have identified in the staff report, the federal government has defined the term obligate, meaning in contract. We are not in contract in terms of any kind of design or construction with the library at this time. So we are proposing to transfer the money in order to preserve the ARPA funding for the projects that are in contract right now. And the Fund 220, that Special Community Projects Fund, is a new fund that will be specifically tasked with tracking the monies that we will be shifting in exchange for the capital project, for the projects that still have not gone through to completion.
Well, when I'm asking, because when I was reading the staff report, we went through all the items that are funded, and then there's a mention that the 4 million is undesignated, so we're moving it to 220. And I'm somewhat confused by what you said right now, that all the funds are accounted for. But in the staff report, where I'm reading it, these are non-specified funds, uncategorized funds that are lifting there, that we're putting aside to make sure that we have still in ARPA.
Sure. No, I'll state for the record, the city received $10 million. We've already spent $3,697,320.54. We have contracted, meaning obligated, another $1.476 million and some change. And we have $4,559,836.03 that have been non-obligated, but they have been allocated by the City Council. The City Council has identified those projects as being critical and has allocated those monies. So we are ensuring those monies are still going to be available for those projects. And we need to do that before the end of this year. Otherwise, we have to give that money back to the federal government. So we're trying to protect the money that we've been given and ensure that the projects that they've been allocated to will eventually be completed.
Well, in the staff report, I don't see the list of projects that we've already allocated the 4 million for. All I read is uncategorized.
No, I think the staff report's pretty clear and the attachment's pretty clear in terms of the funds, and we are allocating money for technology, business support, police recruitment, tourism, Project CIP 318, which is the library. So all of those projects will be captured in that new Fund 220.
Well, on the second paragraph, item 4, the second page, it says, item 4, move the allocations for technology, business support, police recruitment, and tourism at Project 318, CIP 318 library from Fund 120 to ARPA to 220. Are we moving all the money that's been collected, the $9.something million, $9.5 million from 318 to the 220 categories?
I'm not sure I understand your question, but what I'm trying to say is we have $4.559 million that have been essentially allocated by the City Council for projects, but per the federal government's definition have not been obligated, meaning we are not in contract. We cannot physically provide the federal government a contract to show we have committed to spending those funds. But we do have a CIP project, CIP 310, in which we have committed several $1 million of general fund money to complete. So we are proposing with this item in front of you to reallocate the funds, to take that general fund money that was used for CIP 310 that we are planning to use and put that in 220 and save that for these ARPA projects that have been already essentially assigned by the city council, but not contracted. And then we're going to exchange that money with the ARPA money that we have available, and we have a contract, we will have a contract in place by the end of this year to meet the definition of the federal government.
Well, in that case, I'm not going to be voting for it until we have a list of the allocations of the 4 million. We have 4 million uncategorized but allocated. We're asking, need that 4 million for a library. I'm hoping it doesn't go to Enrico Cinquini Park. I hope it doesn't go to Del Norte Park, which we'll discuss later. It's just money that's there until I know what it's allocated for, or that we can move it into the library fund. And I'm a little bit queasy about closing out the library fund to move it into 220. So
it's all been allocated. The staff report is very detailed. We have a spreadsheet as an attachment on the staff report that describes every single project in which the city council has allocated funds over the last, I'd say, 3 years. If you have questions about the spreadsheet, please ask them, but I mean, it's as transparent as possible.
okay, well, I'm uncomfortable with it, so I'll vote no.
And I think part of the confusion is the 9.5 million was not ARPA funding. It's different funding. The 9.5 that's been raised so far for the library is a different funding source. And, you know, just for clarification of everybody in the audience, the ARPA funds have to be designated or else the federal government gets it back. So that's literally like taking away a $4.5 million chunk of spending for us. So I personally think that I will move to approve this item as it is.
Second.
All right, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? All right, 4-1. All right, item 4.8.
Yes. If Mr. Rouhani or Mr. Murray, but I was looking at it, the equipment is great. I feel like it's going into another park in our city, and I was thinking about it'd be very nice, and then a comment to find some of that equipment in somewhere else and then plant them in Creekside Park. That'd be very nice because the Creekside part is antiquated as far as play equipment, as far as I'm concerned. So that new equipment would be nice. And with that, I will move the item.
Yes, go ahead.
I have one quick question, and I'm sorry I didn't bring this up when we met, but just for clarification, the contract reads that we will replace the small 2 to 5-year-old park, and I see that O'Hara is getting some other things done separately, but they have a 2 to 5-year-old area and a 5 to 12-year-old area, so I was just curious if that park has ever had an area for the bigger kids?
Are you talking about the Vintage
Vintage?
Parkway? No.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this,
Not that I'm aware of.
okay, I had somebody ask me that, and I wanted to make sure it was just changing like for like. Okay, then I would second.
All right, so we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, passes 5-0. Okay. 4.9, I believe I pulled. And again, I just like for the public to hear all the improvements that are happening as it relates to East Cyprus. So if we could just give a little bit of background about what this actually is that we're adopting so that people can hear all the improvements.
So this is for phase 2 of the project. So essentially the piece of the East Cypress Road where it crosses the canal. And as at the prior meeting, we gave a detailed overview of kind of what that entails. But this contract really is to adjust and amend the existing contract to add a little bit of funding to it for additional design services with our consultant that's on contract.
Great, appreciate it. I just wanted everybody to be able to hear that. So I will move that item.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, 5-0. Okay, item 410.
Yes, and I just said Del Norte. I'm actually talking about Del Porto Ranch Park. up in the northeast corner of our city, up at Bethel Island Road and East Cypress. The reason I bring it up is I understand that they are asking for permits to go ahead with the development of the park land or park area around there. I did ask for clarification that we would be off the hook for any equipment that went there. I did not receive a reply, so I'm assuming that, yes, we would be on the hook for any equipment going on there. Something like we went with Enrico's in Queenie Park, which just kept growing. So until we have some clarification or written documentation that this is land only, that we're not on the hook to supply as time goes by, the equipment, play equipment, and design, and any of those items. I just, after the Enrico Queenie Park situation, I'm just very hesitant about developers coming in and say, oh yeah, we'll do this.
I can give a little bit of background. So this is for the Summer Lake North subdivision that's being constructed by DeNova Homes. They are going to be constructing a park, playground, and a bunch of sports fields for us. So as part of their development and as part of the conditions of approval for their project, they're required to enter into a subdivision improvement agreement, and it's essentially for the public's benefit, an agreement that memorializes the commitment that they're making for the construction of those improvements. And for the public's benefit, once those improvements are constructed, the city will eventually accept those improvements and be responsible for the maintenance of those improvements.
When you say maintenance, what do you mean by maintenance? The lawn mowing or the...
Everything.
Just like any other city park?
Just like any other city park, and that's why we place a community facilities district over the subdivision, which handles the lighting, landscaping, and maintenance of the city-owned facilities.
Well, if they're turning over the park, I understand. Then we accept the maintenance. My question is, between the time that the park is all landscaped, graded, whatever goes into it, and it now comes time to make it usable for the public, especially play equipment, fields, picnic tables that hopefully don't bow, something along those lines, who is going to pick up that price? Are we going to pick it up?
So the facilities will be constructed, and then when the facilities are finished and ready to be turned over to the city for the ultimate benefit of the public, then we would be responsible. So it's the developer's responsibility until we accept the improvements.
And they will be paying the entirety of all of this up to the point they turn it over to the city?
Correct.
Well, I'm glad we're recording this. This is why I like written minutes, but thank you.
Vice Mayor Shaw?
Out of curiosity, do we know how many ball fields are going there?
Four soccer fields and 3 baseball fields.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, since it seems like we're bringing up other parks, can you please explain how this agreement is different from the Cinquini Park agreement?
It's different in the fact that the city is taking on the construction of the Rico Cinquini Park. We are taking that as a capital project because that project was a little bit different. It was approved in the county some time ago. The fees that we would have collected wouldn't have been enough to construct a park that would be, I'd say, adequate for the community in today's day. So it's a capital project versus a developer project in which DeNova Homes has complete responsibility to construct their project as presented and approved and ultimately permitted by the city.
Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, do we have anybody who wants to move that item? Great, I will. Do I have a second?
Second.
Perfect, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, passes 5-0.
Sorry, I was waiting.
All right, item 4.13.
Yes, when I first read this, I thought this is O'Hara's Properties Revenge of the Election, but that's not very nice, so I won't go any further. but
can't hear.
Can you speak into your mic, please?
the the um, the way this is written is okay. We're going to go along with what we're supposed to do. We're going to go along with it. All this going about, all the regulations, everything that's there. But if Matt Benke decides that he doesn't like it anymore, all he has to do is kind of call in the city hall. Mr. Rouhani signs a paper, and they can change it. And I've been going over the change orders with Pacific, as everyone's aware, R&R Pacific Construction, and I have not been impressed with the idea that the city engineer just signs the order without coming back to the dais for approval. And I don't like this idea of just signing for changes on an items, especially like landscaping around Quick Quack, and then bringing it back here. That's bottom line. I think if we're going to have it, then if Mr. Menke or O'Hara Properties or anybody else wants to make a change, we can consider it here at the dais before approval.
So are you saying you don't want the Quick Quack to participate in the stormwater management facility operations?
If you read the contract in it that was provided, if you go through, it's all very nice and everything, and we're going to do it. And it says Quick Quack is responsible for it, and we'll follow it, and all the stormwater. But, the big but it can be changed if the city engineer okays it, and I'm just uneasy with that. I came from a different background that on a dais that any change orders, anything to do with the policies came back to the dais for approval. And we don't do that. The city engineer signs it. I'm sure Mr. Rouhani will be good, but I'm just comfortable with the idea that it comes back here for approval on the dais.
So in the contract I was reading as well, it did say that the city is under no obligation to maintain or repair the stormwater facility, and that if the city does have to take action, that they will be billing the property owner for reimbursement with an itemized invoice for any of the work that has to be done. So I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. If there's something that isn't done, we've got it in there that we would handle it.
This is a standard agreement, something we do on almost every project, especially commercial ones. We have to comply with a regional water quality permit. Part of that compliance means ensuring that private development projects comply with that regional permit. And this agreement essentially memorializes that. And I think the section that you're referring to, Councilmember Fuller, would essentially allow for some on-site changes in terms of, conditions may change and they might need to change something. And that gives some administrative flexibility. You are the approval authority for the agreement, but I would say the city engineer would be the entity that would approve these administrative changes if any were needed.
Well, that's the way you prefer it. I prefer to come back here. If they need an on-site approval, then change and bring it back here, and we can consider it.
So just so that I understand, what, if you can even come up with this, what would be a sort of example of a change? I imagine if it's stormwater, maybe it wasn't graded correctly or whatever, and they have to reposition. Is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
Sure. Maybe the facility was designed in a way, and in reality, it doesn't work as it was designed. Correct.
Perfect. And so the city council is probably not the experts on if that works or not. I would guess that it's, the experts who are part of stormwater and city engineers, planners, like all of those folks would probably know the best way to change that around, right?
I would say so.
Okay. All right, I will move as written.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye. No.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, abstentions? All right, 4-1. Item 4.14.
It's the same one. It has a clause in there that any change to landscaping that Mr. Benke can give a call and they'll change the landscaping if it's considered all right in City Hall, and I would rather see any changes to the landscaping requirements to be approved here on the dais, especially since the guarantee was during all the debates and not approval and approval and all the talk that landscaping would be mitigating a lot of the noise and industrial range of it. So I would much rather it could again come back to here rather than just signing off on a change.
I would just like to add for the record that this agreement only addresses right-of-way landscaping, not on-site landscaping. Right-of-way landscaping.
It still leaves me uneasy. And in fact, what you just said, right-of-way landscaping, that was one of the biggest discussions was right-of-way and the kids crossing the street and the other went on. So I would very much like to look at the landscaping again if there's a change from our regulations.
I move approval of 4.14.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? All right, 4-1. All right, 4.18.
And that was considering the outcome and the way the voting went in the election, I detected a unhappiness with what is going on in terms of the Planning Commission. I would suggest dispersing it and have them resubmit for to be reinstated into the Planning Commission, but open it up to some other people as well to have a chance at applying for it.
So this is just for the 2 terms that are expiring in February, which are the 2-year terms of Jeannie Krieg and, oh my gosh, Jimmy Ramirez, right? The other ones are appointed for another year, I believe.
They expire October.
Yeah, they're not expired until next year.
Yes, but we can disband the Planning Commission here at the dais and have it reapply, everyone reapply. And I'm seeing nods in the head like, yeah, that might not be a bad idea to let the whole community reapply for different positions.
They can. There's 2 seats that will be open, so that will go out to the community. So 2 people will be able to apply for the Planning Commission. Just like with City Council, do you want to have 5 new people? Well, that's why we rotate and stagger, which is why the terms are the way they are. Because we actually want our Planning Commission to not be handicapped. We want them to be able to do the work that we asked them to do.
We did it before, we can do it again. It doesn't bother me at all.
Okay,
I move approval 4.18.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? All right, passes 4-1. All right, we are now moving on to item 5, presentations. I've got 3, so I'm going down. The first one will be Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Appreciation Day. That will be received by our Police Chief, Paul Beard. Next is GIS Day, which will be received by Brianne Visaya, our Assistant Engineer. And then the third is Small Business Saturday, which is Oakley Chamber of Commerce and maybe some other local businesses. And council, be ready because you know I'm going to make you come down for pictures, so. All right, Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Appreciation Day, November 14th, 2024. Whereas the City Council of the City of Oakley appreciates the valuable contributions of our employees to the community, and whereas the City Council wishes to specifically recognize and commend police records assistants and police service assistants for their outstanding dedication, hard work, and team effort in their roles as police support personnel, and whereas the Oakley Police Support Professionals consistently demonstrate exemplary service to community members, as well as other local, state, and county-wide led law enforcement agencies, and whereas also demonstrated is excellent attention to detail with quality control, inventory, disposition of evidence, and effective communication with the court community that is crucial to the successful completion of criminal cases. And whereas dedication to the accuracy and efficient processing of police reports, property and evidence, and miscellaneous field services tasks which provides staff with assistance in the areas of data entry, filing, and report releases, along with positive and energetic attitudes, make for a productive and pleasant workplace, as well as serving as a force multiplier for the Oakley Police Department. And whereas it is important to recognize the records and support personnel for their valuable contributions to the Oakley Police Department. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that I, Anissa Williams, on behalf of the Oakley City Council, do hereby proclaim November 14th, 2024 as Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Day in the City of Oakley, and extend our gratitude to the Oakley Police Department record staff and support personnel for their dedicated service to our community, their diligence, and their commitment to keeping our city and citizens safe.
Some time ago. So I appreciate this and I accept this, but this truly belongs to Yvette Fagardo, who is our record supervisor. And Yvette represents a unit of 3 records clerks, and beyond our records clerks, we also have a handful of other non-sworn people that do all the work that we, as police officers, really don't have time to get to, and you really don't want us doing some of the work. There's a thing called NIBR's accuracy that Yvette stays on top of. So this is really a good thing for our non-sworn people, and a police department truly does not operate properly without the support of our non-sworn people. So Yvette, thank you very much. And thank you.
Come on. Wait, we got pictures. We gotta take a bunch of pictures.
Okay.
Yes, come on. You guys know me. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, yes. Okay, and there's no, yes. I think Aaron needs photo approval. What'd you say? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you. Thank you. All right, now we are moving on to GIS Professional Day. All right. Whereas the City of Oakley recognizes that an understanding, use, and application of geospatial technology is crucial to operating our infrastructure, sustaining our natural resources, and stimulating economic growth, thus benefiting the welfare of the general public. And whereas Geographic Information Systems, GIS technology, allows us to see and model complex relationships and patterns to more intelligently respond. And whereas there is a need to promote GIS awareness, education, and technical training to use this rapidly developing technology to its full potential. And whereas the City of Oakley acknowledges those that have chosen GIS as their profession or as part of their discipline to improve the lives of our citizens. And whereas to recognize and support the efforts of nonprofits who work on activities to improve conservation, human services, and various humanitarian efforts to better our world. And whereas having a day of GIS activities open to students, citizens, and government leadership will help promote STEM education and inspire others to a higher calling to use technology for good. And whereas the City of Oakley is committed to utilizing GIS to inform decision-making and better serve its residents and make useful geographic information open and easily available to the public as a platform for innovation. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Anissa Williams, Mayor of the City of Oakley, along with the members of the Oakley City Council, recognize November 20th, 2024 as GIS Day throughout the City of Oakley.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. Thank you, City Council members. In case you didn't know, GIS is a tool. It's actually a technology that helps that actually creates, analyzes, manages, and maps out all types of data. And so this year is very special because, like City of Oakley, GIS Day turns 25 years old. So it's very exciting. We like to use GIS in all aspects of our operations here at the City of Oakley. A couple of the products that we have come out using GIS would be our City of Oakley bike parks and trails map and guide, which you guys can get as you leave the chambers. It's also available at our City Hall lobby, our building department desk, and our recreation center. And a couple of other projects that we do using GIS are project signs. So you might have seen the two CIP 247 East Cypress road widening signs on East Cypress. There's also another sign that shows the funding that all of our community groups have gathered for the Oakley Library and Community Center that's at Civic Center Park. Our staff uses an internal GIS platform, and we also have a development and CIP project interactive web map for the public to use. So I want to thank, of course, our Mayor Williams, our City Council members, and of course my fellow staff that have advocated integrating GIS into our operations and workflow to elevate the City of Oakley and more importantly, to support our residents here. Thank you.
Weeblos, you got to thank her for the trail maps. That's my natural state, so it's fine. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Chamber, who do we have here? Who do we have?
You have businesses here too?
No businesses. No businesses.
No business people. Sorry, it's just me.
All right, I'll take it. Did I do this wrong? Yes. All right, Small Business Saturday. Sorry. All right, whereas the City of Oakley celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 34.7 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of net new jobs created since 1995. And the small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the U.S. stays in the local community, and every dollar spent on small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 59% of U.S. consumers aware of Small Business Saturday shopped or ate at a small independently owned retailer or restaurant on Small Business Saturday 2023, and whereas the City of Oakley supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities, and whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Anissa Williams, Mayor of the City of Oakley, along with the members of the Oakley City Council, do hereby proclaim November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small business and merchants of Small Business Saturday, celebrating the 15th year in 2024, and shop small throughout the year. You did the wrong one. Give me the wrong thing.
Thank you, Mayor Williams, Vice Mayor Shaw, council members, and staff. It's a great honor to accept this proclamation on behalf of business community here in Oakley. And I just have two messages to say. First of all, listen, if you don't have small business yet in Oakley, maybe it's a good time to start it, because let me just say, this is a very, very, very pro-business city, which is amazing. We spend a lot of our efforts, time, and resources to work on our economic development, which is super important, right? Because those things create jobs and create places for us to go and enjoy. So the second part of my message is for all of you who are, going to our local businesses, attending them, please do so not only on that Saturday, November 30th, but every day, every night. There's a lot of amazing businesses that we have here in Oakley, and I know I'll be going to one of them tonight. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, sir, you gotta hold this. Now we
I
put
gotta
this
hold
down.
this? Okay,
Yep,
cool.
now we put it down. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. All right. We are going to skip over item 6. There are no public hearings tonight. Item 7, there are no regular calendar items. So we will move straight to our reports. I will kick it off with our city manager, Mr. McMurray, for your report and the business license update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. The first thing I want to draw attention to, I know the City Council and the staff are very aware of our work with our Climate Action Plan, but for the public's benefit, the city is planning a public workshop next Monday, November 18th. It'll be at our Oakley Recreation Center from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The staff has placed some flyers in the back of the room. And there's some QR codes that allow you to register for the event and stay in touch with updates as they become available. If you're not in here in person, but you're listening to this or you watch the replay, you can always email at Climate Action. That's just one word, CLIMATEACTION at ci.oakley.ca.us. And if you email that address, they can both sign you up and give you more information as it becomes available. Also wanted to notify the public that City Hall will be closed on 11/28 and 11/29 of this month in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. And we have our Christmas tree lighting event that'll take place on Thursday, December 5th. It'll be here at Civic Center Plaza starting at 5 p.m. The staff has already begun putting up the amazing lights that were on display last year. This event will be bigger and better. We have our new sound system installed at the amphitheater, and this year we are introducing horse-drawn carriage rides for the public. So should be a great event and something that we can definitely build on in the future. Also, we have attached the October business license update. And then the last two, we have our update from the Oaks Apartments. We have Oak Johnson here, and I know he wants to introduce the new regional manager and also available for any questions. And lastly, we'll close by, I'll be deferring the rest of my time to Police Chief Paul Beard, and he has a presentation for you all that is very exciting. So thank you.
So just for clarity, the police chief update will follow the Oaks.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I do have public comment on the Oaks, so if we could hear that before we get the presentation, that would be great. So I will first call on Michael Dupre.
Good evening, everybody. Since before COVID, I have organized senior citizens, residents of the Oaks to petition Oakley City Council and to demonstrate publicly against unfair rent increases and poor living conditions. After public demonstrations, being fined by the state, several articles in social and news media, and an ad hoc committee was formed by the City Council to address the problems there. Only then did Wynn and the owners feel inclined to address the problems. Still, they have done little to solve the problems there. They've only offered lip service and unworkable alternatives. There are still roaches, though there are fewer. There are faulty locks, no security, broken laundry machines with stagnant water still in them for weeks, unhoused individuals living on the premises and entering supposedly locked buildings. The trash chutes are still non-functional and filthy. The engineering design trash chute system was a feature designed for seniors and those with mobility issues. Instituting administrative controls to fix the problems is unacceptable. Building the building door locks are broken or defeated. The security gates are still inoperable. Smokers are not allowed to smoke anywhere outside as there is no designated smoking area. Landscaping has improved a little. You still can't see the stop signs. What Wynn is currently doing is putting Band-Aids on a giant gash. And now they're bullying residents for speaking out about current problems by issuing notices to quit. That is, basically, it's an eviction notice. Furthermore, there are those who were on the ad hoc committee, the senior residents, bullying other seniors with false accusations and intimidation. Management is doing nothing about it. The Oaks is a high-stress environment for seniors, and it shouldn't be. The owners and Wynn are abusing seniors, and their behavior is deplorable.
Thank you. Next is Jackie Ryder.
Hello, good evening. I just wanted to state that we're still living in unsafe buildings. The door locks are, the whole bar on the one door, I guess it's the east door in building 67 is gone. And this keeps happening, and we find people in our community room eating and sleeping, and it's just, we feel very unsafe and would like these issues taken care of. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Barbara Bautista.
Thank you. I live at the Oaks also. See things a little differently. I do support management and what they're doing, and I also have complained to them when things aren't right. I think they've come a long way. I also think they have more ways to go. Each building is a little different. But I had written something a couple weeks back, and after being told that the tenant people on the ad hoc committee harassing other people makes me go ahead and talk to what I wanted to say. At what point do we say enough is enough, that we are not going to put up with the lying, harassment, and disparagement, as well as creating doubt to the integrity of anyone who disagrees with them? I'm not talking about management. Y'all think the landscaping, cleaning, and maintenance is the main problem. You've forgotten about the white elephant that is at every meeting, incident, and complaint at the Oaks. Now, I'm not talking about management, but tenants that continually complain about everyone and everything. To accomplish their goal, it has been said they have a top management person in their pocket, a spy in the office, and an ear and support of a few council members. Unfortunately, those that support them are not verifying the information they are getting. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Talk with more than just the people complaining to you. Do your due diligence. Ask what their solution would be, not solving the problem for them. I don't think that's your job. I have worked the food bank, delivered food for 2 times a month for 4 months to 250 seniors during COVID. Coffees twice a month for all seniors for 5 years, planned and executed a successful sock hop karaoke night for all seniors. That was sabotaged by a couple of the attendants. We've had potlucks, supported management activities, all this at no cost to anyone but Building 81. We foot the bill for everything. But I'm the bad guy. Maybe it's time to put aside the battles and either work together to support activities and tenants, get them out of their apartments, and have them feel that they are part of something, not hiding away because they don't want to get involved in this supposed war that's going on. I challenge each one of you to contact me. I'd be happy to let you know what's really going on. Hearing one side isn't right. Do the due diligence. If you're going to one building, go to all the senior buildings. We've never been approached. We had a flood in our apartment also, where it flooded the whole floor ankle deep. We didn't have anybody come over. The admin staff was amazing. Maintenance, so-so, because
Thank
it was
you.
a different maintenance crew.
Sorry, the buzzer went
That's
off and
okay.
we have to,
So just do your due diligence.
thank you. All right, now I think we can hear from Oak.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, City Council. It's my pleasure today to stand in front of you and provide you the latest update. Most importantly, I want to introduce Randa Benuelos, who's our new regional property manager. I started talking about this position several months ago, and we were able to find the right person, and she is on site. She's already met with the residents once. She'll be meeting with the residents on an ongoing basis to determine what their needs are, to determine what they want to see in the community. At the first meeting, she had about 15 residents show up. We hope that that number increases each time she hosts a meeting. The feedback from the residents were that they wanted to see improvements in the laundry rooms, security issues, and enforcement of the leases. This includes people that are not following the pet policy, people that are not following the no smoking rules. So she's going to work with the residents to allow us to enforce those and make the community enjoyable for everybody. She's also going to reach out to other members of the community and other agencies such as the police department to work with them on the homeless issue that is cropped up, where we have an individual who's on the community in the neighborhood now that is unhoused and approaching residents. It's not acceptable to us. It's not acceptable to the residents, and we're going to need to be able to sort of fight that issue as a community. So I'm very excited that she's here. Excuse me. There was a presentation that was provided. It's available for review from anybody that wants to see it. It was attached to the agenda. A couple of key things that I'd like to note is that we continue to have community services that are done on a monthly basis, quite frankly, several times a week, where we reach out to both the seniors and the families that live on the community. We've continued to meet that need as best we can. We're going to look to improve those services with input from the community. We want to know what they need in order to be more successful individuals within the city of Oakley. The maintenance team has been stable, which is something that we couldn't say a year ago. We are very proud of the fact that we've had very little turnover in that crew, and as a result, maintenance is now functioning from a work order perspective in a normal business. We're seeing a regular, normal amount of work orders come in and get resolved on a monthly and quarterly basis. That information was also provided. We recognize fully that there are issues on a community as large as ours that are going to take time to correct, that are going to be an ongoing battle. The locks are brought up. It was mentioned the locks are repaired and then they're broken, and then they're repaired and they're broken. We will continue to fight that battle. We'll continue to repair them as quickly as we can whenever they're found to be deficient. We also have the issue of trash was brought up. Just as a reminder to the city council, anybody that needs assistance with their trash, all they have to do is call the office. We haven't had any issues in general with that, and that allows us to provide a better level of service to the rest of the members of the community. And those are the key things that I wanted to touch on. Available for any questions that you might have, and also look forward to seeing you again in December.
All right, any questions from the council? Vice Mayor Shaw.
Always questions, right? This is in part to you and also to the comment. I do my due diligence. I've been to the property myself. I see both sides of things, being a property manager and having a family member that has lived at the Oaks. So I've seen all sides of this. I do still hear some things, and so I'd like some clarification. You mentioned the locks. I specifically East Door Building 67 and 65 having a door not locking, and 81 the single door not locking only if it is turned to the right, so a malfunction in the lock. I would like to ask about the front gate and where we are with that. I have heard positive about the improvements, and when I do talk to people that want to come to me and talk to me about issues, I always ask them to start with what's positive and to tell me what has improved, so I can hear both sides, because obviously they want to come to complain, but I want them to acknowledge the work that has been done. And I have heard that it is getting cleaner. The landscaping is better. The cockroaches are being handled, but there are still issues with the trash area. A man in a thong exposing himself from the bushes. There are requests, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go through all these because then we can go one by one. A request for some sort of policy on how a resident can ask for and obtain video surveillance, and what sort of time frame that they would be able to get that in. So if they are requesting something, how would they go about doing it? Are there video surveillance signs at each building? I'm happy that you addressed the maintenance staff, so I won't go into that. Still, obviously, cars speeding, traffic control, speed bumps. They're asking for or requesting more PD presence in the back of the building. Standing water near the benches around 65. Concerns about mosquitoes. And one big request that I thought was interesting is, do your maintenance staff all wear branded uniforms?
There's one individual, I believe, right now that we're having issues with his uniform. I believe it was ordered, hasn't shown up.
And
But
then
they are all issued
okay.
uniforms.
And then if there is a contractor doing work in an occupied unit, do you have maintenance staff escort them in to the occupied unit?
They should be escorted by staff, yes.
Okay, I just had some concerns with if they're not branded.
If it's an occupied unit, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And he should also,
Go ahead.
just to hop in, they should all be wearing branded attire. They also all have name badges that are printed by our office, so they should have those. If they don't, encourage the residents, let us know so we can resolve it.
Okay. I'm gonna, building 81 single door trash can across the street. It's difficult for the residents to use it because it's at a red curb. I'm not quite sure what, I was taking notes so fast.
Okay.
Something about access to the stairwells being locked. And so making it unaccommodating for people to get in that way, but I guess if it's locked, then that means the lock is working. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Can security access, pedestrian gate being unlocked, allowing people to come in. And then I had a quick question. I know that there was some fire trucks there the other day, but I heard it was just smoke, no flames, and if it was a dryer. All that being said, this is all outside of our purview. And I'm happy to see that you have a new regional manager. I'm happy to hear that the maintenance is continuing to be consistent. I'm not seeing what benefit this is having anymore for us. And I feel like it gives the residents a voice, and I appreciate that. But the last couple meetings, we haven't had a lot of people here. And I think that one issue as far as talking about the getting along, there was talk of one resident group trying to start, that one being shut down, and another resident group starting. That's going to continue creating divide. So I would advise trying to allow these groups to do what it is that they do. I know I just rambled a lot of things. I'm sorry, my brain is just full right now with this. I'm thrown off about that comment about due diligence. It really irked me because I've been working on this since before I was elected. Like I said, my mom lived in the Oaks, and this is deep for me. And these reports that we're getting are part of the story. I don't think they tell the full story. I'm hoping code enforcement, that's what we can do. We can handle code enforcement issues. We can handle police issues within the city. But a lot of the stuff is for you guys to figure out. And I was hoping that these ad hoc meetings would then turn into something you guys handled there. And I just feel like we just keep talking about stuff. And the gates are going to be fixed, or the gates are not fixed, and locks get broken, locks get fixed. And I get that. That's day-to-day stuff. That's not city stuff. So if you could answer some of the things, that would be awesome, just for my peace of mind, but I'm sorry I rambled. I'm so sorry. My brain is all over the place. But I do think that the residents need to figure out what the residents need to do for themselves, for them, and for what they feel is necessary, whether that be, a resident group or taking matters to where they feel that they need to take it. I think every resident needs to be heard, and 15 people for the large property you have, that's a tiny turnout. And I think that needs to really daily until you start getting to, go to each building maybe. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but if you're asking them to all come to you and they're not getting along, the chances of them coming into one group isn't going to happen. Maybe just do it building by building, and really, like you said, every building is different. Go to each building and see what that building needs. But this once a month thing for us is not getting things done the way the residents need to get things done, and it's wasting your time, it's wasting their time, and it's wasting our time. And I don't want to be a waste to anybody. So I'll stop now. I'm sorry.
I think what might be most helpful of us, I take back and I go back and listen to make sure that I got all the things, and then I can provide a written response, if that's all right, rather than try to make sure that I hit everything. Other than that, we do think that it's important for the residents to have a voice. We try to provide them that opportunity. We have an open door. We've already had residents that weren't at a meeting that called and scheduled an appointment to meet with Raina in the new space, and so we encourage that. We'll continue reaching out to all of the residents on a regular basis. We'll provide as many different opportunities as we can in order to engage with them. It's at some level we need them to want to participate with us, and that's
It's going to take a long time to rebuild trust.
No.
And it's going to take the residents, and again with the two-sided thing, with the being, I tell the residents, if you want management to do this and uphold everything that they told you that they were going to do, then some of these residents need to make sure that they are not breaking the rules either. Like, again, I'm doing both sides of this, and I just don't see that we are any longer helping, except for code enforcement and PD. And so I'll leave it to see what you guys have to say, and Josh, as far as, we were going to do this, but the residents need to be able to reach out, and there's such a divide in your community. I just thinking asking them to come together right now is not going to be safe for them to do. So I would encourage finding another way to hit them up.
Do you want to say something? Because you didn't really raise your hand. Okay. I have a couple questions, comments. So I've gotten notice that the fourth floor, the building of Building 65, the window, which I know when Vice Mayor Shaw and I were out there, it was out of the building, and we had permits pulled, but the residents are hearing that it's the city of Oakley not issuing the permits.
Well, that's not correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the windows on order. We're waiting for it to be
Okay.
delivered.
I've had several residents who said that Katie said that they were waiting for the city to issue permits. So I just hope the messaging is consistent, because that's where we get some of this divide too, right? Like the residents not hearing the other side, but also, if they think the city is not trying to support them and trying to expedite permits when the team is, that builds a little bit of extra animosity that doesn't need to be there too. I agree with what Vice Mayor Shaw said, because again, I've heard from residents that there were groups that were started and then they weren't allowed to continue. And I think that's going to add to it. And I believe we had talked about, one of our suggestions was maybe each building has a representative unit that they're, and I understand that may be a nightmare for you to manage or for the buildings themselves to manage, but like Vice Mayor Shaw said, we don't seem to be getting traction. There is improvements. I've seen and I've heard improvements. I just, like these two both manage buildings. Do your locks get broken this much? Do your gates get broken this much. Like, it just feels like a extraordinary amount of time that's going into these broken locks. And, we're talking about people who are exposed to, dangerous. I've heard some of the things that have gone on. And so that just concerns me. Again, not really a city issue. It just seems like there's a fracturing of what has to happen. And I don't understand like what the responsibility is to keep the residents safe. And if anybody else who manages apartments, if they have that same rate, because it seems like a lock is fixed and then broken like the next day. So that seems like there's some sort of internal breakdown that's happening that's not managing that. But I guess I could be wrong. Maybe it happens all the time.
So I don't manage the same product type. I manage primarily single family. I am on an HOA board of directors with units in Antioch, the fourplexes. We have gate issues. We constantly have gate issues, and we're constantly fixing both pedestrian and vehicle gates. So that is a legit issue.
Okay.
Yeah, we have gate issues pretty often. We had somebody steal our Knoxbox key operator to get in for the fire department, like the most random thing that they can do nothing with. So it does happen, but like the long wait for back order glass, like East County Glass, I'm not recommending a business, but I had a window broken and I called. They were out Monday. They measured it. I gave a deposit. They had it to me by Friday, and it was a week turnaround max. And that was just because they didn't have the size. So I think the slow process on some of the things isn't as normal for me. I don't know if that's just relationships with vendors or I don't know, but I do think that there is a lot of on order and backlog on some of the repairs that would normally not take me as long, but that's just a person, my facility.
So two things real quick, if I may. One, so the resident groups, we've never told any resident group that they're not allowed to form a group, that they're not allowed to get together, that they're not allowed to organize themselves. That has never been something that's come out of our office. We did try to revitalize a tenant council earlier this fall, received very little interest. We're going to try again. It's one of those things we'll keep going back to the well and encourage people to try to, if they can organize in that fashion. We gave them a framework, we gave them, bylaws and everything, and said, here, it's your organization, here's the framework for it. Elect your own members, do that sort of thing. We're here to just provide the administrative support. We'll try again with that. There was another organization, but they were certainly allowed to do whatever they wanted to do. We were not going to stand in the way of that organization operating independently. With respect to the window, I don't know why it's taking so long.
Didn't they want to put out a flyer? You didn't like the wording on the flyer? It had to be reworded.
The first flyer they put out was not a welcoming flyer for the community. It was one that was not in. It was not one that would encourage other residents to become a part of it or encourage the participation of both management and the residents. So that's what that, and then it became clear during that process, this divide that you speak of became very clear during that process. So we tried to provide an equal platform and be the referee, if you will. It didn't yield the results. They didn't form an organization at that point. Well, like I said, we'll try again.
Did you have something else you were saying? No? Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, we are moving on to item D, the police department new badge presentation.
Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here as always. On November 1st, we went to a new badge. I don't know if you notice it on me, but it is different than what we were wearing just 2 weeks ago. And tonight I'm just going to explain why we did this. So in this presentation, I first want to say that law enforcement badges, it's more than a piece of metal. It is the physical representation of what gives a law enforcement officer the authority to enforce the law. It is also the representation of the core values of an agency and the ability to convey that trust to a community. So to have a proper badge is the right thing to do, and that's what we strived to do in this presentation, or in this endeavor. I will go over the purpose of the change, I'll go over the history of the badge, and I will mention some instrumental people who helped with this presentation. So the new badge first became a thought in 2015, 2016, when we as an agency were considering breaking away from the Sheriff's Office to become a standalone agency. We knew that it was important to have a unique identity, but there were so many things going on at that time that a new badge design just didn't fall to the top of the priority list. And our uniforms with the Sheriff's Office were largely based in gold, yellow, and brass, which made sense because we were a contract city or an extension of the Sheriff's Office at that time, and because we didn't make a proper transition, we just carried those colors into our operation as an agency. So the badge, the new badge, it refreshes a dated design. It's an overdue step in developing that unique identity. I was first tasked with looking at the feasibility of a badge change in 2019 by then Chief Christensen. With that task, I toured the Ed Jones Company in Berkeley, who I knew to be the badge company that provided the badges for my former agency, the Sheriff's Office, as well as most badges here in Northern California and the Bay Area. The tour of the Ed Jones Company educated me on the fact that most Northern California police agencies have silver stars as their badges. And having never worked for a police department before Oakley, I didn't really realize that. I didn't realize there was a cultural thing to go to a silver star versus a shield or anything like that. So it was an education for me. And it gave me the perspective of what I would need to one day make this transition. Frankly, in those initial stages, COVID, here we go with COVID again. COVID actually stalled that whole project. We ran out of funding, we ran out of resources, we ran out of the ability to actually physically go to Berkeley and view the badges. So we had to take a time out. In 1898, Oakley, we became a town. Sheriff R.R. Veal was the sheriff at that time, so he did represent law enforcement for Oakley when we first became a town. The badge that's pictured up there is the first badge that would have patrolled the streets of Oakley in 1898. The six-pointed badge was normal for the new Western United States. I will reference the Los Angeles Police Department on 3 different slides because the LAPD is considered to be the premier law enforcement agency in the world, and they do represent what is normal for the West Coast law enforcement agency, police department, and more specifically Southern California. And I'll tie that in just a minute. So while the Western United States had the star, the Eastern United States, they were obviously more established, older than us, and they had gone to a shield-style badge. In 1909, the Los Angeles Police Department moved to its first shield. They did so to establish credibility and legitimacy, trying to emulate what was going on the East Coast. In 1940, LAPD, they developed the badge that is still in use today. And this badge, the style badge that you see on the screen, is the same badge that pretty much emulates or represents what a lot of Southern California police departments wear. LAPD, they wear, their badge is physically larger than everybody else down there, but all the badges down there kind of look like that. Going backwards a little bit, in 1930, the Sheriff's Office went to a 7-point star, And the badge that is seen in that picture is, except for the color of the lettering is now black, but that badge is still in use today. That's the same badge same basic badge that I wore during my career at the Sheriff's Office. Moving ahead to July of 1999, we become a city. And in that process, we had our very first badge. Our very first law enforcement badge was a 7-point badge, but you'll notice it is remarkably smaller than the Sheriff's Office badge. I choose to believe that was for no other reason than economics. It was a cheaper badge. In 2008, there was a regional movement, meaning here in the Contra Costa area, to move to a shield-style badge. Several agencies around us did that, and we followed suit, and this is the badge that we ended up developing for our purposes in 2008. This is the same badge that we retained through the breakoff, so we wore it as a contract city, and in 2016, we did not change that badge. We continued to wear that badge until about 2 weeks ago. That badge served us for 16 years. So this is the badge that we have chosen to serve us into the future. I hope, I tend to believe that this badge will get a longer run than just 16 years. I think it's a very attractive badge. I think it is very representative of what Northern California law enforcement should look like. This is also a badge that surpassed my, I'm not a design guy, I just have some ideas here and there, but this badge surpassed my ideas in 2019 of what I thought our badge would one day look like. There are some unique features about the badge. I don't even know what to call it, the motif in the middle is actually going to be the initials of the officer that it's assigned to. A probationary officer will get more of a generic badge that says OPD, and upon successful completion of probation, that officer will get his or her own personalized badge. There is a black star at the bottom of that badge. If you're roaming around the police department or come across one of our police officers, if they have a black star at the bottom, that designates them as a founding member of the Oakley Police Department. This is we opted to make this move now in 2024 to help celebrate the city's 25th anniversary. We want to make sure that we got this done in this 25th anniversary year. This is the officer badge, as you can see. It's relatively plain. It's sort of just a mere finished badge. Sergeants and above, they get a more ornate badge, and you can see there's some intricate filigree in that badge. Some people that really helped move this project along was Lieutenant Cartwright. He was very instrumental in the design of the badge and the interaction with the Ed Jones Company. Lieutenant Roberts handled a lot of the uniform switchover to move us away from those yellows and golds and that sort of thing. To match the badge, we had to move our colors to more of a blue and a silver. And I think it takes us out of the category of looking rather garish to more of a professional, clean look. Our police service assistant, Duffley, he's still handling the vehicle decal compliance, making sure that the vehicles look like the badge. And Joseph Headley at Ed Jones Company helped us. He was our project partner in this whole thing. And that is my presentation. I'm available for any questions or comments.
Thank you so much. Do any members of the council have any questions or comments? I'm surprised Cartwright didn't try to incorporate any firefighter insignia onto that.
He'll get you for that one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we are moving on to item 8.2, reports from council liaisons to regional committees, commissions, and boards, and Oakley City Council acting as the successor agency for the Oakley Redevelopment Agency. Remember, we all have to raise our hands, so who would like to go first? Okay, it's you.
Since our last meeting, I attended Iron House Sanitation's board meetings, also the Senior Center Ad Hoc Committee, Friday Night Bites, and I know it's already been said, but yesterday's ceremony that was moved on the fly was a really nice ceremony as we celebrated our veterans within Oakley. Thank you.
All right, we're just going to go this way. Vice Mayor Shaw.
I went to the Texas Hold'em tournament fundraiser for the library. I did not play, but I did do some waitressing. From 10:16 to 10:18, I was in Long Beach at a Cal Cities conference, and I wanted to just go over some of the classes that I had attended. One was How Can Cities Stop Hate? Just talking about community-based partners and the rising tide of hate in California. So the other one was Don't Confuse Kindness with Weakness, How to Handle Disruptive Meetings. Learn how to handle disruptive meetings online and offline without losing your cool. This presentation will cover how cities can meet their legal obligations to allow open, honest discourse while navigating free speech concerns. The discussion will include important safety tips with an emphasis on techniques to handle the most combative public speaker role-playing scenarios with tips and tricks into putting immediate practice. Teamwork makes the dream work. Effective city council, city manager relationships, creating a thriving community. Effective governments require strong leaders, strong leadership and responsive management. A professional, collaborative, and trusting relationship between the city council and a city manager creates a strong organization that directly translates into thriving communities. In the session, council members and city managers will share insight into what makes a successful council-manager relationship, including how to define the roles and the responsibilities, open communication, and teamwork to achieve positive results that benefit an entire community. Also, battling misinformation in the age of artificial intelligence and social media. So just talking about public officials without proper detection of or response strategies. AI can influence elections, foster distrust, and make communication with constituents more difficult. Also, learn how to combat disinformation incidents and maintain digital integrity. We also had a class on what was called trolls on social media. Can I block them? The U.S. Supreme Court issued a ruling this March laying out a test for when council members or other local officials may remove comments or block people from social media. The session explained the rules and how council members and other public officials may structure their social media accounts if they are going to be deleting or blocking people, but if they're using those accounts as a free, as a space to relay city information, it's something that should not be blocked. And then one that was essential tips for effective council meetings. Most city council meetings are smooth, orderly, and otherwise unremarkable, yet we've all likely had the misfortune of sitting through council meetings that didn't go so well. Effective governance doesn't happen by chance. Learning how to be an effective leader is like having a new skill. There are rules to the road and that make one proficient. So tips and best practices leading to a smoother and successful council meeting. So those were just some of the ones that I took. There were many, many classes, but I wanted to note those. On 10/23, I had Tri-Delta, and the mayor report out on that. On 10/25, I attended the Elected Women's and Empowered Women's Luncheon. On the 26th was the Oktoberfest. The 29th was the committee with the seniors at the senior center, where we just really got a chance to take a look at what they had, some of their needs, what's going to be kept in the club realm, and what's going to be used for the city services that the city will be taking on. And our next meeting, we're going to be meeting at the rec center, so we can kind of see how those things will go into play. On 11/4, I had a meeting with some residents regarding the Oaks. On the 6th, 2 council members from Brentwood, along with Mayor Williams and I, went to a meeting at Grace Bible Church. They want to talk about how they can bring their midnight basketball and youth basketball programs to our city, and that's going to be a conversation offline with the city manager to see if that's something we can do. The push-in ceremony on 11/7 at Station 93. On the 10th, I went to Makers Boulevard, and on the 11th, I had the honor to attend the Veterans Day event, speak, and again, it was a great event. Thank you, staff, for making that happen in the weather, and thank you to all those that have served. I do appreciate it.
Awesome. Sorry, mine's going to be long too, you guys. It's been a long time since our last meeting. So I went to Nevada to do a Get Out and Vote event that will become important later on because I got to meet with some really interesting thought leaders who have some good ideas about some things they can help bring to Oakley. So we've got some meetings set up post that. I did also attend a seminar with Attorney General Letitia James, hosted by the Elected Officials Protecting America. And I have an application in for their fellowship program. Tri-Delta Transit, so there's some new updates about the regional measure timeline. The MTC Commission will vote to advance in November or December a 30-year half-cent sales tax. It's just one of the things they're proposing that would impact Contra Costa, Alameda, San Mateo. They also are proposing a 30-year or 10-year option. The 10-year option will really only focus on BART and Caltrans, though. We did recognize driver Linda Thompson for 40 years of service, perfect attendance, no accidents, no injuries, an amazing accomplishment, and she was a lovely person. We had our annual audit. It was unmodified, which is a clean opinion on the basic financial statements. Right now, we're going through a program called Revitalize Tri-Delta Transit, which is looking to transform service, not just make small changes. The first option they've looked at less routes but more frequent, and there would be more transfers involved. Option 2 is more direct routing and requires fewer transfers, and some routes get better frequency. We also had kind of a long discussion about, are we actually really listening to our folks? Are we targeting the right people? Are we only getting people who use public transit and not the wider audience of people who would use public transit if it was more available? So more to come on that, but I encourage you, when you see anything from Revitalized Tri-Delta Transit, to please participate. Even if you do not currently use public transit, it's a really vital resource for our community. I attended a meeting regarding Care Court and how cities will implement the new model for mental health treatment and address homelessness. Also went to the elected women's luncheon. I represented Oakley in a nonprofit funders forum that discussed the implication of the election. It was just post the election, and I do want to take a moment to relay the message from Kristen Connolly regarding how professional, how well our staff managed the election. Libby, Diana, Kim were out guarding the mailboxes at various times, and this was a funders forum that was across multiple counties, and so she didn't need to call out Oakley specifically, but if some of you saw the news clip, she also called out Oakley specifically, just saying what a great job we did with keeping the election secure and safe. So I really do want to make sure that we all know how lucky we are to have the team that we do. One of the things that came from that funders forum was that our early voting numbers looked kind of dismal. We only had about 45% turnout, but by the end of when all the ballots are counted, it is likely to be more like the 75% number. So that was good news. Vice Mayor Shaw already talked about Grace Church. We are trying to introduce these more cross-city collaborations because we're tiny, our staff only has so much time. We're trying to come up with ways that we can get the needs met. I loved doing the push-in ceremony for Station 93, and that's why I had to call out Lieutenant Cartwright, because he loves those fire trucks. The Veterans Day ceremony, I really was very honored to get to attend that, especially considering, again, you know, I said it earlier, the total revamp so I really appreciated it. And I also would like people to think about, you know, the sacrifices that were made to get us there and where the focus should be. Also, I was reappointed to the Community Development Policy through Cal Cities, and I received the Women's Caucus appointment to the Housing and Transportation Committee. Today, I actually got to attend an economic roundtable with our Senator-elect, Chris Cabaldon, and Harumi, and we were talking about EIFDs and what that means and how legislation can help to enable that, and the ability for cities to use it when we don't get a high percentage of tax shares. And I think I'm done. Oh, Oktoberfest. I've been everywhere. Makers, just follow. I post pictures. Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, I was in the push-in on Station 93, even though I don't appear in the picture. I was there. I always will enjoy the camaraderie of pushing in an engine and working with the firefighters. I'm always satisfied when I go and see what's going on in Oakley in terms of fire protection, as well as Brentwood and throughout the county. I'm so glad that we've moved into a conjunction with them. I also attended the Veterans ceremony. It was the first one time veterans have not been asked to stand and be recognized.
The script is the same year over year.
Excuse me, I wasn't finished
Okay,
yet.
I'm just letting you know that the script is the same.
I haven't finished yet. It was the first one I hadn't attended. I hadn't been there. I mean, I've probably, twice your age? What can I say? It was the first one. In terms of that, it was nice to have the recognition. It was quick and easy, and it would be nice to have the bands back. I was concerned. I did see Marines in the foyer as I left, and the lieutenant colonel from JROTC was over there shouting about somebody. We hadn't recognized them. I asked Mr. McMurray if he would find out if we missed it, but I haven't heard anything, so I guess that's one of the jobs I can do. So I'll keep the community organ informed of that, and that's about it.
Councilmember Meadows.
So I also attended the Veterans Day ceremony yesterday. I thought it was a great event. I thought the staff did a great job, like several of the other council members had said, and quickly moving it indoors because of the rain. Since our last meeting, I've attended an MCE board retreat. Really, purpose of it, we just went over the history, what's going on currently, and where we're going in the future. Also attended board retreats for two-day board retreat for Contra Costa Transportation Authority. And big thing, we talked about planning the future of transportation through county-wide transportation plan, and then planning and building a multimodal transportation system. Goes back to some of what Mayor Anissa Williams.
I like Mayor Anissa, it's fine.
Mayor Williams talked about with what's going on with transportation. Their Tri-Delta Transit and all the operators are looking at different models. So we had 2 days on that. Then the next night I had a CCTA meeting, Contra Costa Transportation Authority meeting. We discussed Interstate 680, Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan. And if you aren't aware, Contra Costa Transportation Authority received a $166 million grant from the federal government for I-680. And then we got an update on the Momentum Station operations. 6 months ago, that operation was turned over from AAA to a new entity running it. So we got an update there. And then I have an ask. I'd like to have this meeting closed and or adjourned in the honor of Joe Tovar, who passed away last month. Joe was a 97-year resident. Speaking of veteran, he was a World War II veteran. He was a member of the Oakley Knightson Fire Department. He joined volunteer fire department. He joined in 1953, became chief in 1974, and was chief until he retired in 2000. He was also became a deacon at St. Anthony's in the mid-1990s until he had to retire. And he was also, I didn't realize this till today, but he was also on the Tri-Delta Board of Directors. So I would ask that we adjourn the meeting in his honor. And that's it.
All right, before we adjourn, we have a couple other items. Are there any requests for future agendas from any council? Okay, great, I have two. I would love to have a work session on campaign contributions and a discussion about how we can cap that. The one thing that I've been hearing is, you know, we made this switch to districts and people still don't find it approachable. So I'm not saying that we introduce anything, but I would love to have a work session on capping campaign contributions and what kind of different ways there are to accomplish that. So that is my first, and again, just a work session, not a real ask. Okay. And then my second one, since that one didn't go over well, is posting public comments on our screens. So some of the other cities post the public comments. You know, I've made no bones about I would love our meetings to be more accessible. We're just not able to be at, this is the largest group we've had in a long time, so I appreciate everybody for being here. It really makes a difference in the engagement, but other cities post at least their public comments that are, you know, written to us ahead of time onto the screen, so I would love to see if there's an opportunity to do that during the different sections. The people who can't be here to speak should at least get it sort of recorded, what they wanted to say. So can I at least get some support on that one?
I'll support that one. What I've seen in other cities that they don't always put the entire full comment. Sometimes it's whether they support or don't support an item, or sometimes, yeah. So I would support trying to figure out a way to do that.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, work sessions. There are no work sessions. We are going into a closed session. It is 10.1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A, Summer Lake Owners Association versus City of Oakley et al., Contra Costa Superior Court, case number C240176. After that, our meeting will be adjourned. So thank you so much for joining us, and I would like to take a moment to adjourn in memory of Joe Tovar.